You know, go to a NASCAR inspection today. Because of us cheating, call it what you want, cheating, NASCAR has had to step in.
So you made sure your car weighed 3,700 pounds when it went through tech. They wouldn't weigh them after the race. I was at Martinsville. I said, they're going through this. I said, hey, ever think about weighing these cars after the race? And Bill Gasaway was the inspector. He said, boy, let me tell you something. When that car goes on the line, it's legal. That's all I care about.
If we went to Daytona, I don't care if it was back then or today, and I came to a crew chief and I said, well, how did inspection go? Oh, great, we flew right through. I'd be very disappointed. And I'd say, that car's not going to win this race.
All right, Chad, say hi. I'm on Ray. This is Ray Evernham's Home Movies.
Hello, my name is Chad and also on Ray Evernham's Home Movies.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But cheating in motorsports is just different. There's an art to it. The game within the game. It's been happening for 75 years, and it will continue for another 75 more. But you know what they say, it ain't cheating unless you get caught. "61 cars entered the 2007 Daytona 500, and numerous entries were involved in cheating scandals throughout the week, including Hendrick Motorsports, Evernham Motorsports, and Roush Fenway Racing. But they will all be overshadowed by Michael Waltrip Racing's number 55 Toyota Camry.
The first race to qualify is the race through pre-qualifying inspection. And already one past champion of the 500 has run afoul of that. Steve Burns.
Mike, I'm down here in the garage in front of one of the NASCAR administrative trailers. NASCAR officials are in the background discussing the situation. Just a few moments ago, the scene was Michael Waltrip along with Bobby Kennedy and Ty Norris, three of the principals from Michael Waltrip Racing, meeting with NASCAR President Mike Helton, Vice President of Competition Robin Pemberton, and Jim Hunter, who is the Vice President of Communications. What Jim Hunter told me was that during pre-qualifying inspection, an inspector noticed a strange smell and a strange color in Michael Waltrip's intake manifold. Now, the net effect of that would be essentially trying to increase horsepower. That intake manifold was taken. It will be sent to the NASCAR Research and Development Center up in Concord, North Carolina. Jim Hunter said they expect to know the results of whether or not that substance runs afoul of the law in about 2 or 3 days. Meantime, Michael Waltrip was allowed to put in a backup motor. He will be allowed to qualify today, but again, it will take 2 or 3 days before NASCAR knows exactly what was going on with that intake manifold.
And this conversation, Ty Norris on the right, works for Michael Waltrip in the Napa hat, having a lengthy conversation with a NASCAR official that was started by Michael's crew chief.
Yeah, just remember, it's not that important, but every year we come down here, there's a team or two that gets in trouble over there over intake manifolds. I think it was last year Robbie Gordon that took his intake manifold, or was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. I mean, every time we come down, there's such a broad interpretation of what's legal and what's not. Sometimes they take them because they don't look right. So don't paint the ugliest picture till we know all the facts.
The inspection area, Michael Waltrip's number 55. NASCAR inspectors taking it through the routine line just as any other car goes through the line. Michael, what is going on with the intake manifold?
Well, when they felt down inside of it after running the engine, there was some oil in the intake, and so oil's not supposed to be there. NASCAR took that intake because to see why oil was there, what was in there, and then they put a clean intake on it, bone dry, and started up, and oil got in there again. So quite simply, there's just oil in a couple of places where it doesn't belong. We don't really know why, but we haven't done anything wrong. We just had something happen that made them raise their eyebrows and took our manifold. But now we're just starting back through the rest of the process, and I'm sure it'll be fine. we have a problem of some sort, I guess.
Are you concerned about the integrity of the engine for the qualifying run?
No, not really. It should be fine. I don't understand what's going on. I've talked to people that are smarter than me about an engine, and they don't understand it either. But when it's all over, we'll figure it out.
And we'll remind you that Michael Waltrip has to qualify for this race either through his 100.
I don't know about you guys, but I believe him. Just a non-biased opinion. I don't know.
50 miler on Thursday, or by turning a fast time trial lap this afternoon. So the pressure's on.
Michael Waltrip, new intake manifold installed, and the car through NASCAR inspection. Now brings his Toyota onto the track, the Napa Toyota. He'll be the 44th driver of 61 to take time today.
I believe he can come in there right in behind Sterling and Johnny Sauter. I believe he'll be in the 60s based on what he ran yesterday, and assuming that everything's the same.
Darrell, what he'll need to do is better right now a 48.82. That's where Jeremy Mayfield is in another Toyota, the third fastest of the cars that are not locked in.
This field is the largest for the Daytona 500 since 1995. That's the last time we had more than 60 cars come here to attempt to qualify for one of the 43 positions.
Larry, when's the last time you remember somebody starting up a new operation, not just for one car, not just for two cars, but for three cars?
I'm not sure that has ever happened before.
Not in my, I mean, I know owners that have, or I know sponsors that have sponsored cars more than one or two down here before, but no one has started from scratch and brought three teams to Daytona.
Now, Darrell, his first lap, not great, 49.62, but I did notice he ran about as high as you can run on lap one, which that means when you come to the bottom as he is now, you should pick up a little more than what you've seen on the normal 5 to 6 tenths.
He's going to be right on Skinner's back bumper, if not just right in front of it.
Right now, it looks like he's flirting with maybe a 48.90, right in that neighborhood. 48.94, and that's just one notch quicker than Regan Smith. But you know what? It could end up being that close as to who gets in and who misses this Daytona 500.
So Waltrip will have to race his way in on Thursday.
Michael Waltrip Racing would be hit with the biggest penalty in stock car racing history, being docked 100 points and being fined $100,000 after NASCAR found an unidentified silicone-like substance under the manifold. The initial speculation was jet fuel, but it was never confirmed what foreign substance was found in the fuel line, but the situation will always be famously referred to as the jet fuel incident.
We don't have the fastest car today, but I still feel like we're going to win this race. I mean, I don't tell you that stuff unless I believe it. Just all we got to do is be ready when the guy that's got the fastest car fumbles, and we take advantage of it.
The Rainbow Warriors dominated the 1990s with their driver, their motors, their pit crew, and especially their brains. Ray Evernham was the brains behind some of the most dominant race cars in NASCAR history, and guys like Chad Knaus were also honing their crafts as well. These two guys are probably responsible for more technical inspection rules than any other two guys in NASCAR history, and they're proud of it. With legendary drivers combined with their brains, they would go on to win 10 championships for Hendrick Motorsports and change motorsports in a whole forever.
Jeff Gordon running in the 6th spot. Let's go to his pit for an update.
Eli, we talk a lot about how Jeff Gordon has the Jurassic Park paint job. Well, underneath it is also a brand new chassis. It's the first of the second generation Hendrick chassis being developed at Hendrick Motorsports. They've been working on it since last August. Ken Howes, Rick Stump, and Phil Hammer have been working on this. The pivot points are different, supports, all kinds of mounting brackets are all different. They think this is the wave of the future because they basically feel they've developed all they can out of the current chassis, and they've worked on it so long between different projects, they nicknamed it Elsie because a lot of people thought they'd been milking the job.
It ran one race, it dominated that race, and was banned by NASCAR. That part of it's true. Brian Weitzel and I were standing on top of the truck, and Jeff goes out and he goes around, and I click my stopwatch and I'm like, it was maybe look like a tenth faster because I was just looking at the tenths. And all of a sudden Brian's like patting me on the arm going, and it was like a second faster, and I just wasn't reading the second part. And we were like, whoa. And Jeff rolls into the garage, he flips up his helmet, his eyes are about this big, he's like, what was that? If it wasn't for Jeff Gordon driving that car, it might still be legal, but that night, he was running laps in that race that were 7 or 8 tenths of a second faster than the whole field, and just totally annihilated them. And Gary Nelson at that time, or Buster, can't remember which one, said to me, Mr. France wants to see you. So I said, I thought he wanted to congratulate me. Bill and I were friends, I was gonna go up the truck, yeah, good race tonight, Bill, kind of whatever. So he says, he's sitting there, and he says, sit down. He said, you need to pick up that phone right there and call your boss and tell him that car is illegal. And I was like, what? No, they just said it was past inspection. I said, he said, no, it's illegal. I said, no, sir. We built that car by the rules. It's 100% legal by the rule book. And he said, it won't be tomorrow.
I knew I had an awesome race car. I'm telling you, that thing was bad to the bone. I drove in the first turn, it stuck like glue, and I said, oh yeah, here we come, man.
To be successful in anything, you got to be just a little bit uncomfortable. And it's the truth, right? I lived my whole life very uncomfortable. Going through technical inspection, making race calls, designing parts and cars and all of that, always just trying to push the limits. And man, we would have stuff that, the rear end housings were moving our cars, an inch and a half, and we just go out there and just whip everybody. And NASCAR would look at it and be like, well, you can't do that. I'm like, well, why? Show me. Well, we just can't. And then they would write a rule, right? Yeah. And then we were so fortunate back then that we would have things stacked up, and we would bring them out. Okay, we'll run this for a while till they catch it, and when they catch it, all right, close that door, bring in this new item. That's how we did it. And what we would do is we get to the playoffs and everything would come together, like everything that we tried at, early in the summer or late in the spring or at this track, and we'd bring all that stuff together and we'd hit the playoffs, man. We were ready to rock and roll.
Right.
Chad Knaus would cement his place as the greatest crew chief in NASCAR history, even with a few questionable decisions.
If we win this race, you have to correct the back of the car. Got it? Really?
Evernham and Knaus have always doubled down on their innocence. They aren't rule breakers, they're rule makers.
Can we just get it quiet in here for just a second?
Some cheating isn't as pretty as others. Intentionally wrecking someone has always been frowned upon in NASCAR, but even more so frowned upon is wrecking yourself for that all-needed yellow flag to save your day.
He's going to bring it to pit road. And that's going to bring out the caution. And wheel hopped, or I think he wheel hopped it, trying to get it slowed up for pit road. Needed a caution.
And look low on the right front.
He's able to, thought he was going to get it to pit road, spins it out, and likely we'll see a caution here.
That's pretty slick on that apron.
Nothing.
I got nothing for you on that one.
Is your arm starting to hurt? I bet it's hot in there, itching. Oh, yeah. Right with you, 88. Right with you. Right with you. Right with you.
No, I think we had a flat tire or something. I mean,
for sure. So I think that's something, as momentum builds, or if you see a trend and you've got to react, you do. We tend to trust the teams out there and the drivers maybe too much at times, but we'll certainly take a look at that. Obviously, didn't make a call during the race Sunday. If it's something we've got to address, we'll talk to the drivers and race teams over the week. And
70 laps to the finish. It continues.
There he goes. There he goes.
He spins around. I spun myself out at Bristol in 2004 on purpose. Then I got fined because I admitted it.
See that right rear of that forward glass? Is it bowed down? Yeah, kind of where the jack, between the orange jack screw and the black lining, is bowed from the right side of the jack screw over. Yeah, right by the K. When he's up to speed, I think pushes down about, 2 inches, 3 inches.
Pablo, what a shocker. Sets on the pole, but you know what, Juan? It doesn't really matter. Because if you sit on the course pole, there's no guarantee you're in the butt chute anyway. What the heck? That you had shocks on that was wrong. NASCAR says that you have to go to 42nd.
So many laps, so many cars, so many ways to cheat. Cheating in motorsports truly is beautiful.
Later. In fact, you tell that spotter up there, it better pay big. It's not the spotter, it's the whole committee. Committee knows what I've been asking for. We got the big dogs, Wiggett and all of his cronies. He's 2 back off of you in your lane, inside 22. He's struggling bad here. Hopefully he gets something out of that.
Sam Hornish is so fast on the top. He's got that thing yawed out. I don't know what he's got going on there, but it's looking good. It looks like Sam Hornish is marching to the front of this thing.
Carl, he looks like one of those what do you call those cars? The sliders, the gliders, the drifter.
With hundreds of cameras everywhere, you truly can see what competitive people do when they're desperate.
Front damage looks. The car, Sterling Marlin is jumping out of his car. He's going around to look at the right front fender. But, he can't do that.
You can't work on your car under the red flag. That's the NASCAR rule.
Pull it off a little bit.
You're not allowed to work on your car under the red flag.
I guarantee you, up and down this grid right here, there's not a single car that hasn't in some way touched or modified or done something to
The hood louvers on all 4 of the Hendrick cars were confiscated by NASCAR. They had looked at the louvers on all the cars, decided to take those 4 back to the R&D center to have a look at them.
There are hundreds of NASCAR cheating stories that we could talk about, but that would just take hours. These were just a few of the ones that have always kind of stuck in my head. These were the guys that had the balls to do things on and off the track that other people didn't. These were the people that made this sport worth watching for me. Who cares about morals when there's a trophy right in front of you? Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat.